ladies. That was fabulous. Yay. Okay. And now, everybody please find your seats. Thank you. And now for our special guest speaker of the evening, all the way from Los Angeles, Shaliach of the Rebbe, Rabbi Reuven Wolf, founder and director of Mayan Yisrael, who has been inspiring, impacting, and influencing the way we perceive our reality and help us see the world as the Rebbe sees the world, ready for Mashiach, Rabbi Wolf.
For such a fantastic occasion, I regret that I didn't bring my shtreimel. So I was just sitting upstairs, and Sterner Spritzer calls me, and she says, where are you? I said, I'm upstairs. And she says, come down, everybody's waiting. So it reminded me, last year, mamish on today, on Yud Shvat, I was in Chicago. I went in to speak for the community. And I took an overnight flight. And I was very tired. So I stayed at my friend's house. In the basement, they had a room. And I went to sleep. Somehow around 12 o'clock, I got there like 9 in the morning, and like, I think 12 or something like that, I was supposed to go to the school and speak for the children. But I'm sleeping. So the person that I was, suddenly, this is what happens. You see, people usually will refer to me as Rabbi Wolf. Those who know me from a long time ago, as a kid, my name was Revi. That's my nickname. From Reuven, in Hasidish it's Reuven, so it becomes Revi, that was my name. But besides really close people, my family, others don't call me Revi. But I'm in a deep sleep, and suddenly I get jolted awake by a voice saying, Revi, get up! The children are waiting! They knew me from a long time ago. So I say, Rebbe, wake up! The children are waiting! We're all waiting. I went in to speak for the community, and I took an overnight flight, and I was very tired. So I stayed at my friend's house. In the basement, they had a room, and I went to sleep. Somehow around 12 o'clock, I got there like 9 in the morning, and like, I think 12 or something like that, I was supposed to go to the school and speak for the children. But I'm sleeping. So the person that I was, suddenly, this is what happens. You see, people usually will refer to me as Rabbi Wolf. Those who know me from a long time ago, as a kid, my name was Revi. That's my nickname. From Reuven, in Hasidish it's Reuven, so it becomes Revi, that was my name. But besides really close people, my family, others don't call me Revi. But I'm in a deep sleep, and suddenly I get jolted awake by a voice saying, Revi, get up! The children are waiting! They knew me from a long time ago. So I say, Rebbe, wake up! The children are waiting! We're all waiting. I never felt such a powerful need to wake up and to come immediately, like when I heard the children are waiting. 70 is a very big number. A very big number. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to take that off. Makes it a little. 70 represents shleimus, completion, wholesomeness. As the Rebbe says, Gemar v'shleimus avoida, the completion and the shleimus of a person's avoida in this world. So as we are now reaching 70 of the Nasi Hador, of our Rebbe, we've reached Gemar v'shleimus avoida, the completion and the shleimus of the avoida. So if I was to ask you, the current situation that we're standing right now, tonight, will you accept that this is Gemar v'shleimus avoida? That what? Lubavitch does amazing things. Take a look what's happening across the world. Explosion of Chabad houses everywhere new shluchim going out. We're going to be having over here very soon all the kinnis hashluchos from everywhere. Each year it gets larger and larger. Think about all the schools and all the children that are learning Torah in Lubavitch and Moistus across the world, in all the day schools. Zion Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, all the Hasidus that is being spread. For the first time we see so many non-Lubavitchers across the world learning Hasidus. Unbelievable. But will anybody over here say that's Gemar v'shleimus avoid? That's done. Fine. We can celebrate. We can say L'chaim and it's done. No one will accept it. Because we all know what Gemar v'shleimus avoida of our Rebbe is. Gemar v'shleimus avoida was told to us in Basi Legani. The Rebbe said what Gemar v'shleimus avoida from our generation is. Bringing the Shechina down here for the entire world to see. Binyan Beis HaMikdash. The third Beis HaMikdash revealed tonight in 770. The Rebbe revealed tonight, that's Gemar v'shleimus avoida. And then the Beis HaMikdash traveling to Yerushalayim, to the Har HaBayis. And Kibbutz Nitchei Yisrael and all the Jewish people there, and Tchias HaMeisim. And Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Rachel, Rivka, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, and everybody, all the generations singing and dancing. That's Gemar v'shleimus avoida. So if that's the case, we're running out of time. It's 70 years. So we got to do something intense. We got to do something intense. And I'm speaking to the right people. Because if anybody can do it, you can do it. And we're not talking about tomorrow, we're talking tonight. And we're talking here. Allow yourselves to believe in your power. The Rebbe says the power over here lies in shtus. The power to actually bring Mashiach is not seichel. It's not intelligence. Even though we're Chabad Hasidim and we can philosophize and come up with all kinds of stories, it's not that. It's something much deeper. We're talking about the energy emanating from the essence of the soul, which comes in a manner of craziness. It's a matter of shtus, which makes us do things that transcend our minds. But it's very powerful and very strong. The sea, we're just reading today, Az Yashir. The Yam Suf did not split through pilpulim, through arguments, through seichel. The Yam Suf split. Imagine the entire Jewish people waiting to go out of Mitzrayim We're standing, there is a danger. The Gemara, the completion of Yetzias Mitzrayim is ready to happen, but what does it require? It requires a leap of faith. It requires Nachshon ben Aminadav to jump in, to do something of Shtus de Kedusha. He can't explain it. There was no logic. It was Etzem HaNefesh. This is where we stand tonight, at the point of Etzem HaNefesh. And the ladies, Dafka. Because you can get to this place much faster than the men can. The Rebbe says it in the Sikha that the Rebbe spoke, Parshas B'Shalach. The last time we heard Tavshin Nun Beis, the Rebbe spoke all about the mile and the quality of Nshei B'nai Yisrael regarding bringing the Geula. And the Rebbe brings a medrash which refers to Miriam as a goyel. She is the redeemer. Miriam is a redeemer. Now, if you read the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, it doesn't seem like Miriam is the redeemer. Moshe and Aaron are the redeemer. They're the ones who are waving the wand or the staff and doing all the cool stuff. And yet we say that what? Miriam is the redeemer. And the Rebbe says because, you can have Moshe doing everything, but if there's no power behind him, there needs to be godly, potent power beyond Moshe and Aaron's work. And who fuels this whole project? It was Miriam HaNeviah. And the Rebbe emphasizes two things about her. Miriam and Neviah, these two things. Miriam leads, but not just Miriam alone. She is the one leading the women. Miriam, she's called Miriam because of her bitterness. The Rebbe explains it's a combination. It's a combination of bitterness. Miriam was born when it got really, really bitter, when the Golus was at its darkest point. And she suffered 83 years of bitterness. And the Rebbe says that she felt the pain of the Golus so deeply, she and all the women, more than the men did. In other words, by her Ad Mosai, she couldn't tolerate the Golus. It hurt her so deeply. But also that she's Haneviah. She's a prophetess. That means it wasn't just the pain. It was her emunah and bitachon, and her waiting, bekilyoy nanayim, that she was waiting, which means with every day more and more and more, as she was waiting impatiently, but she had absolute bitachon that the geula is coming because she had a prophecy. And she had a prophecy that Mashiach Tzidkeinu is here already. The Mashiach of those days, whose Moshe Rabbeinu, the Goyel, was born, and she knew it because she heard it directly from the Eibishter. That's what a prophecy is. And imagine this little girl has to live for 83 years. Or actually, when she had the prophecy, she's 3 years old. So she's living with an 80 years. 80 years of frustration. 80 years of scoffing, 80 years of people saying to her, "Hey, where is your nevuah?" Can we identify with that? Us Lubavitcher Chassidim. Even her father, who's the great rabbi, slapped her and said to her, "What's with you? Where is your nevuah?" And this little girl has to live with that. And yet it didn't change one bit her knowledge that it's true. Why? Because when you know truth, it's true. And there's nothing that can ever change that. We heard and we saw our Rebbe tell us a nevuah. And a nevuah is emes. I don't have questions. I have a lot of questions. People come to me all day with all kinds of questions. It's not a big kunst to be a questioner. Nothing great ever happened in the world from questions. It's those that saw emes and truth and know what truth is. We look truth in the eye. We heard our Rebbe telling us again and again and again that this is the last generation of Golus and this is the first generation of Geula. And the Rebbe says the women have that power of having both that emunah, that unshakable emunah, and the admosai. And the Rebbe says that the women, especially in our, just like it was then, it's going to be in our generation. The women are going to do it. And between the two feelings, the Rebbe says, the simcha and the joy, as ot kum de geula, should overpower the pain. The joy of the redemption. And that's why the women, the Rebbe says, did celebrate in a way far greater than the men did. Because they had the tambourines and they had the dancing, and the men didn't have it. Be'ezus Hashem, tonight, when third Beis Hamikdash is going to be revealed, and we're going to come to the end of this very dark place. This room is going to rock like no other place. Because here is where Geula is happening. So what are we going to do? What could we do? There's no one way to bring Moshiach. No one figured it out yet. Exactly. The Rebbe said, tut alts was you can't. Alts means everything, whatever you can think of. Every good deed you're doing, every kapitel tilim you're saying, every smile you give to someone, every positive word, every word of encouragement, every time you're extra kind to your spouse, to your husband, that's all bringing Mashiach. Every time you rise beyond your impulses, you're bringing Mashiach. Every time you're doing a mitzvah, every time you're helping another Jew a mitzvah, all this is Mashiach. The Rebbe even said, learn Pirkei Avos and bring Mashiach. Like everything. There's no one way. But then, if we want, thank you. I'll have another one. Thank you. So, I don't think there's one way. No one has the way. But from all the inyanim that there are certain things that can make it happen like very, 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 very quickly. Certain things that are more deeply connected to the inner core. And it's something that we can do together tonight over here. This relates to what happened in the early winter, in Chodesh Cheshvan, in the year 5752, Tafshin Nun Beis. The Rebbe then, after the famous sichos of Tuta, the Rebbe gave it over to us. So the Rebbe, the entire time, was giving various different inyanim. The Rebbe was telling us and guiding us. In the first few months, the Rebbe was talking nonstop about that everybody has to be obsessed with the Geula. We all need to be driven to bring the Geula. That has to be everything, every moment of our life. Then the Rebbe started speaking the next few months. If you follow the Dvar Malchus, the Rebbe was talking a lot about starting to live in a Geula state, knowing that Mashiach is here already, and we start living Geula. And then in the third period of time, which started in the beginning of the winter, the Rebbe was talking about Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. To actually come, and simply it can be understood as greeting Mashiach, or it can mean as coronating Mashiach, accepting Mashiach. The Rebbe then connected it to the pasuk, to Kiddush Levana, Parshas Noach. In Kiddush Levana, women don't say Kiddush Levana, but in Kiddush Levana there is a pasuk that we say, Uvikshu es Elokehem, they will seek their God, there's David Malcolm and David their king. And what does it mean they will seek? It's a prophecy in Hosea. Over there it talks about what's going to happen in the end of days, after Yidden are going to come back to Eretz Yisrael, which to a certain degree obviously happened already today. You have Eretz Yisrael is completely settled, mamish, in an unbelievable way. And Yidden at that time, even though they're going to have things that are good, there's going to be a very strong tshuva, a return to the Eibishter. And Yidden are going to turn, they're going to want Hashem, Vikshu Esilikeim, they're going to want Hashem, but they're also going to want Mashiach. There's David Malcolm, they're going to want Mashiach. So when it says Uvikshu, they're going to ask, they're going to seek, what does that mean? So Rashi says it means that Yidden are going to plead to the Eibishter three things. Give us, we want you back in our lives. We want the Beis HaMikdash, and we want to have Mashiach Tzidkenu. We want our Melech mi Beis David. Rashi brings over there that the Jewish people rejected, he brings from Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, that the Jewish people rejected three things. And then he brings from Reb Shimon ben Manasseh, says, Ein Maden Simen Tov li Yisrael, the Jewish people will not be shown a good sign until they're going to request these three things. They're going to request the Eibishter, they're going to request the Beis HaMikdash, and they're going to request Mashiach Tzidkenu. That's what it says in Rashi. In the Mitzudos, which Chassidus always brings the Mitzudos, very reliable pirush, and the Mitzudos add something. The Mitzudos says, Uvikshu es Elokeim, as David Malcolm, means that they're not only going to ask the Eibishter, they're going to come to Mashiach Tzidkenu, to the person they believe is Mashiach, and they're going to petition and they're going to ask of him to be their king. They're going to plead with him that he should be their melech. So based on what the Rebbe said and this whole idea of Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu and so on and so forth, and actually a few things that were happening already a few months before that when the Rebbe said Tut alts was he kent, Lubavitch was confused. What does the Rebbe want? And some people thought maybe it means that we have to declare him as Mashiach. So people started, the Rabbanim made a psak din, and as a result of that, they started signatures where people were signing and asking the Rebbe, and it was kind of no one knew what to expect. And the Rebbe was giving very encouraging answers. So again, it was the women who took the leading role, and I'm sure many of those women are here tonight, who actually set up a big event in 770 in Beis Mashiach. It was, I think, a Malava Malka, which Malava Malka is all about David Malka Mashiach. And it was actually called the Kabbalah Samalchus event, where they were going to coronate Mashiach. And it was without any question who they were referring to. They were coronating the Rebbe as Melech HaMashiach. And they notified the Rebbe, and the Rebbe gave very encouraging answers for it, like amazingly beautiful brachas. I looked at it today. I didn't write it down or record it. The Rebbe gave amazing brachas. And then it started to spread out. The newspapers, at first it was like kind of quiet within Lubavitch, but then it started getting out that this event is happening. And they told the Rebbe, and they sent in with these notifications, and the Rebbe again gave brachas, and so on and so forth. And actually at the event itself, when Rebbetzin Ashkenazi stood up in 770, and she cried out with all the women together very powerfully, Yechi. And everybody was literally a coronation. The Rebbe was watching it. Amazing that they had it broadcasted live. The Rebbe is sitting in his room and watching the entire thing. And afterwards, again, the Rebbe gave such brachas, such answers. And then when women in other communities across the world started asking the Rebbe that they also want to make things like this, the Rebbe was giving brachas and brachas and brachas. And if you weren't sure exactly, if the Rebbe knows exactly meaning what this is about, there was in London, the women in London were also made a kinus for Mashiach. But the Londoners are a little bit more, Azayim Yosef, a little bit more, I would say proper. So such a wildness of making this is obviously shtus. This is a wild thing to do. So they decided to make their event a little different. It's not a Kabbalah Samalchus, just going to be an event which is going to encourage people to learn more about Mashiach. Shiurim and so on and so forth. Many people argue that's what we need to do. That's what it means, Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach. Just that people should become more familiar. So you're not coming to greet Mashiach in pajamas. Then we're not talking about actually greeting Mashiach. So the Rebbe gives them an answer. And again, I saw today, this is not verbatim the answer, but this is kind of the answer. The Rebbe gives a bracha for their event. And the Rebbe says, however, kedai, to the London women, that they should be bekesher with the women in Crown Heights regarding their recent event that the women in Crown Heights made. In other words, the Rebbe was saying it's very nice, but what I'm really waiting for is the event for Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach, the coronation of the Melech. So this is something that is obviously the Rebbe cherished very much, and it was very meaningful, and it's related to Bias HaMashiach. Now, after that, we suffered Chav Zayin Adar and Chav Zayin Adar and Gimel Tammuz and a great darkness. And, all the confusion that came along with it, and Lubavitch did amazing. In the sense, take a look, people predicted whole things, what's going to happen with the Lubavitch, and we've exploded. Lubavitch is exponentially grew, and with all, it's unbelievable in such a concealment how we have grown to where we are. This is nothing short than a miracle of a miracle. The Kachin Mashiachs, some people very strong, others a little schwacher, so on and so forth. The last few years, there is a tremendous resurgence in Lubavitch to connect stronger to the message of the Rebbe about Mashiach, to the Geula, and to the Rebbe as Melech HaMashiach. There was a certain blink. It's coming back now in a very, very strong way. Why? So first of all, we're getting closer to Shivim Shana. We got to finish the job. But there's another thing I think that's obviously very obvious, is we're actually seeing in the world unbelievable things. We're seeing the world racing towards, I don't want to say racing, because it's racing like a turtle, but it's racing in the sense that it's better than what was happening, years ago, in just the last 2-3 years, the entire world was flipped over. And it's good for the Jews. Usually when it's flipped over, it's not good for the Jew. In other words, the entire geopolitical world, everything that's happening, policies in the world, are helping the Jewish people, furthering Mashiach's cause. Because again, what was constantly pushed very strongly, and I've mentioned this many times, and I don't have to repeat it, was a war against Mashiach. That's what it describes in the second capital of Tehillim, that when Mashiach is about to come, there is a war against Mashiach. It's a war against the Eibishter and a war al Hashem v'al Mashiachai. And we saw powers that ganged together, powerful forces. I don't even want to say the names because we don't want to give them any chayas anymore. They're done. They're gone. But in any case, they ganged up in such a great way to eradicate the Eibishter's name from the world and to not allow and to try to chas v'shalom force Yerushalayim to be divided, Makam HaMikdash not to be in Jewish hands, to stop the Geula from happening. It was a horrible thing. And what do we see? Suddenly, out of nowhere, no one expected this, suddenly, and in a manner of shtus, because the way it's happening is totally in a craziness. It's so funny how the Rebbe says Geula is going to come through shtus. So this is the whole thing is led through a power of shtus, and yet this shtus power is doing like incredible things for the Jewish people, non-stop, every day, more and more and more. And it's unbelievable what we're seeing. But you say, okay, it's nice. But we see that it's not something happening in the world. We see, because the Eibishter we see that the Hashem wants us to see, and the Rebbe wants us to see, that it's not something happening, but it's the Rebbe behind it. We see literally that the Rebbe didn't go away anywhere. He just went a little bit behind the scenes, and he's a warrior, and he's fighting, completing the work of Yilchel Milchames Hashem to stop this war. And that war, I mentioned earlier, against Eretz Yisrael, was against the Jewish people. They signed chas v'shalom, a pact with Iran to allow them in a year or two to have nuclear weapons to chas v'shalom threaten another Holocaust. And in a miraculous way, this was stopped. And what happened? What do we see? An unbelievable thing. We see that everything that was done was exactly on Chabad dates. And I mentioned this many times. I'm just going to say it, just a few little things again so that we can again connect. Everything is Lubavitch, to the point that every Yom Kippur that comes, I get already text. So what's going to happen? Everybody's sending me. So Rabbi Wolf, what do you say? What's going to happen next? I don't know. I'm not a Navi. But Baruch Hashem, it's been very consistent. It's crazy. Yerushalayim was announced as the Ir Bira, as the Jewish capital, as recognized by the world on Yutes Kislev. That's the first one, and then you have just on the Rebbe's anniversary, just now, Yud Dalet Kislev. There was elections in England where the Jews in England were terrified because the Labour Party that looked like they might win, and they close to winning. Jeremy Corbyn, Yimach Shammai, I don't know. I guess we can say it on him. An explicit anti-Semite. And Jews in England were terrified. They thought they'll have to leave England. Not only did he lose the election, but he lost in such a humiliating way. It was so unbelievable. It was a landslide for the Conservative Party. And when did it happen? Yud Dalet Kislev, on the Rebbe's anniversary. How about when this arch-terrorist that was killed, this Soleimani that was killed, he was the biggest danger. Well, if you can point to one person who was threatening the safety of the world, and especially the safety of the Jewish people. And when was he killed? Dida Notzach, Hey Tevis. And when that church went up in flames, in Notre Dame went up on flames, which is the symbol which stood for thousands of years for Jewish oppression, that for thousands of years stood for the idea that Christianity has triumphed over the Jewish people, and the Eibishter has severed his ties with the Jewish people and has chosen the new Jews, chas v'shalom, the Christians. That's what it represented, and they have a big statue that represents that. And on Yud Aleph Nisan, this past year, suddenly it goes up in flames. And the recent news is that they thought people were contributing money, billions of dollars to rebuild it. Lately, they announced that it looks like it's never going to be rebuilt again because it was damaged so bad that it can't be rebuilt again. And Chav Cheshvan, For that you can clap. When the Rebbe does something, you know that he'll get it done thoroughly, right? Chaf Cheshvan, the Rebbe Rashab's birthday. They made an announcement suddenly, and no one expected this. Chaf Cheshvan, it was announced that all the settlements in Yehuda and Shamron, all over, that till now it's considered illegal, the United States is changing its entire perception of it. We don't consider it illegal. And again, this is all, what does it take? And when, on the Rebbe Rashab, because the Rebbe Rashab is the one who begins Milchemes Beis David. And where did they anoint David HaMelech? In Chevron. That's why the Rabbeim so much wanted the Yishuv in Chevron. The Rebbe Rashab writes that the Rabbeim kind of cared about the Yishuv in Chevron more even, the settlements in Chevron more even than Yerushalayim. Chevron was so important. And on his birthday, when Mazloi Goiver, who's telling the president all these things? Who's giving him who's feeding him? Does he have a little miniature Chabadnik in his pocket? And the answer is, it's not. He has zero power. It's nothing to do with him. The Rebbe has taken over the White House. And why not do it on all these special occasions so that we, Lubavitchers, should realize who's doing it? We can't be blind to this because I only gave you a short list. There's so much more. This is nonstop. So we're seeing, so what happens, Taka? So today is Yud Shvat and we're waiting. And today the Rebbe basically said to the president that, listen here, if not for me, you would be out. You'd kicked you out already. So you better behave yourself. So today he was exonerated after this. They wanted to kick him out of, when? Out of all times, Yud Shvat came in the vote. It was still on Yud Shvat. These things don't make any sense. But here I want to say something very, very important. Very important. He only has authority to do things that are consistent with what the Rebbe wants him to do. The moment he starts doing monkey business that are not what the Rebbe wants him to do is not good. And for people, sometimes we get too caught up in the shliach, and we forget that all he is just kegarzin b'yad ha'chaysev. He's just an axe in the hand of the chopper. So if we see that there's a certain thing that he does that is not consistent with what our Rebbe told us, and it's not consistent with what the Rebbe fought for the entire time, that's no good. And we shouldn't go along with it just because he did it and say, it must be good. It's not good. So just recently they made this deal of the century. Now the deal of the century is the most dangerous thing in the sense that Yidden, no, it's not just dangerous, in addition to dangerous, it is a high crime. We're dealing with not 1 inch of Eretz Yisrael, but to give Chas v'Shalom to create Chas v'Shalom a Palestinian state in Eretz Yisrael, in addition Chas v'Shalom to the Sakana. So it bothered me to no end. How can it be when we're watching a president who clearly is being driven by a force, by Melech HaMashiach, how can it be that Dafka, he did something so against? It really gave me no peace, and I didn't know. People were asking, I don't know. I have the answers to everything? I don't. But then I had a thought, and then today, before I came here, someone called, and he left me a message, and he said something, and I think it's very pertinent to where we're standing here tonight and what tonight is all about. So he said to me as follows, he himself, he leiv malachim b'yad Hashem, the heart of kings in the hands of the Eibishter. But in addition to the king, there are also policymakers around him. Policymakers around them are Jewish, right? So Jews have bechira. Jews can choose. The Eibishter can have his heart and drive it exactly the way, and the Rebbe can drive his heart exactly as needs to be. We're dealing with a non-Jew. Once we're dealing with the Yidden can, if they're not following Torah or consulting the Torah, they can do something even against. So this didn't come from him, L'chura. It came from Jews around him. But what do you see from here? How powerful the choice of a Jew is. The power of Bechira. So what happened? Again, this is just my speculation. Today he was exonerated on Yud Shvat. But when he was exonerated on Yud Shvat, there's a little black dot in his exoneration. A little black dot, but this black dot takes away the entire oomph from the victory that happened. Why? When he was exonerated today, he was exonerated with one one Republican joined the Democrats in declaring him guilty, in convicting him. Now, what that does is it takes away the entire. They want to claim that this was all a witch hunt, and this was just the Democrats doing something really, because they hate him and so on and so forth. This takes away there is a black dot there, and it's one senator who chose to do that. Now, number one, you see as follows. It all boiled down to 4 votes. You see the power. If another 3 senators would have crossed the aisle, and there were 3 of them that they were expecting could make such a move, then the entire world would be different tomorrow. If 3 other senators would join and vote to convict, 3 more, all it would have taken, and he would have been out of office. Unbelievable, the power of a vote. And just 3 people, we're not talking about a lot of people. Secondly, the one senator who did vote in the other way caused a big stain on his presidency. It would have been so different without that one vote. I don't know if it's a little of a shtech to him from above to say, hey, we know whatever it is, the Rebbe's in charge. Once we're going to see the Rebbe Begoli taking over all this all Utzueis of the Sufar, this whole deal of the century is going to be the Rebbe's deal of the century. Not what they're saying, and the whole Eretz Yisrael is going to be ours, and for sure. We have no doubt about that. But here is the idea. The power of a vote. Tonight, you are gathered here tonight, all of us together. And we're given the power of Bechira to make a choice. All life long, we're always choosing. A Jew lives with Bechira Chavshis, with free choice. And we make the small choices in life. Should I eat that or I shouldn't eat that? Should I think that or I shouldn't? Should I, whatever, all the things that we have to choose. Torah and Mitzvahs is constantly creating for us choices. The Eibishter says, I put before you a Sachayim v'Satayv, and the opposite, and make a choice. But from all the choices we make all year long, these are the miniature choices. But then there is the big choice. What's the big choice? Every year, Rosh Hashanah, we have to make a big choice. What's our choice? That the Rebbe explains is coming from the deepest, freest place in our neshama, in the fact that we are given a chelik l'kaimi ma'al mamish, we are a little piece of God, and only God has free choice. So the Eibishter gives every single one of us a piece of Him to make a choice. And what's that choice? We choose our melech, we make the Eibishter king on Rosh Hashanah. And it's dependent on our choice. Because dafka, a choice of a Jew that's emanating from etzem hanefesh, from the place to which we are Hashem, we're not small little whatever. We are infinitely powerful and as true as the Eibishter himself. Only we can stimulate and wake up by the Eibishter the desire that I want to be a melech. And we do it every single year, even though we did it last year. Because every year we do it from a deeper place, from a truer place, from a more inner place. And every year we evoke a deeper tainug and a deeper desire for Hashem to be a melech. Today is our Rosh Hashanah regarding our melech on Yud Shvat. This is the time that on 70 years ago, we made the choice and we did a coronation for our melech, coming from our freest, deepest place in our soul, telling our Rebbe, you be our melech. We're given a chance tonight here to make that choice over again, in which we can choose. And it's interesting. Let's think about it. The Rebbe's birthday is Yud Aleph Nisan, 2 months from now. And on the Rebbe's birthday, what's the famous mimer that the Rebbe gave us that we all can associate with Yud Aleph? The famous Yud Aleph Nisan. There's a lot of Yud Aleph Nisan mimer, but what's the famous one? It's the choice that we choose the king. And then people make choices. This one chooses the governor, this one chooses the duke, and this one chooses this one and this one. But the Pikeach, the wise one, says, Ano Nosiv Malka, I am choosing the Melech. Now obviously the Rebbe in the simple is talking about choosing the Eibishter. Yidden choose the Eibishter. But why is this a mimer for Yud Aleph Nisan, for the Rebbe? Because the Rebbe is the Melech. We're talking about, and we should know that the Melech, Malchus of Mashiach, is not something other than the Eibishter's Malchus. The Eibishter's Malchus is not complete, is not tangible, remains up there in the spiritual realms above until it's going to enclose itself in Melech HaMashiach's kingship. Without the Eibishter's Malchus being funneled through Mashiach, there's no Malchus in the Eibishter Bechlal. In other words, the Eibishter's satisfaction of being a Melech has never been fulfilled yet until we coronate Melech HaMashiach. Tonight we have that opportunity that we should do like the women did back in 1992 when they had that gathering of Kabbalah Samalchus. Now that we're at the Shleimus of 70 years, we can do it. And we can do it with Mesiras Nefesh, we can do it with Shtus the Kedusha, we can do it with that powerful, powerful inner. And again, it's not about our Seichel. I'm not speaking to you from Seichel. I'm crying from the inner part of me saying, Admasai, we can't have this anymore. We don't tolerate this anymore. And I know that you cry much deeper than I do. So now is the time. And it must come down in Maisa. It must come down in action. It's not enough that it's somewhere deep inside of me. Every Lubavitcher, it's etched in his being. We know who he is and who Yigaleinu, who's going to redeem us. But this is the year of Tafshin Pei. It has to come into our mouth. It has to be expressed. It has to come into action. How do you, just like a Rosh Hashanah, we have to verbalize it. You can't just think it. And then we have to do Torah and Mitzvahs. We blow shofar. We do an action. So it's incredible time for us tonight, even if you signed this in the past, to accept upon yourself the Malchus. Very soon, the whole world will accept, but then it's not going to be a kunst to accept. The question is, like it says by the little children, hey, mekiru tchila, they're the ones who recognize them first. Now is the time we should make the choice that the entire Bechira Chavshis was given to mankind for the choice that we have a choice from a free place to choose tonight. We're going to choose our Melech, and we are going to say to the entire world, without any fear and without any shame, chas v'shalom, and without any hesitation, that our Melech is clear. The Rebbe said already then, the Eibishter chose already, Matzasi David Avdi. The Eibishter anointed already, Melech HaMashiach. The only thing the Rebbe said is needed is the iskashrus between the people and the Melech. So we say to the entire world, we say to ourselves from the deepest place of our being, we say, Yechi Adoneinu Moireinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Li'olam Voed. Chaim.